demisexual,
What's
which
that mean?
is you need to know something about the person in order to feel comfortable enough to sleep with them.
Yeah, okay,
You
then I'm
know?
definitely not demisexual myself. Because, baby, I can't. Just so you know, that was a special experience for our birthday, okay? We do not want this podcast to be misinterpreted as if we're like these bougie, disabled bitches just living a really like extra lavish life, which one day we will. But right now, you see the angles. You see our camera setup, bitch.
Welcome to We've Been Like This, the podcast with Jill and Lolo.
This is our first attempt at a podcast.
Yes.
People for years have said, we need to do a podcast together. We need to do something together. People have always been saying, and we've been kind of more so behind the scenes like, y'all leave us alone. We're trying to figure it out on our own first.
Literally.
Literally. But I'm excited. I'm excited that we're doing this.
I know this is episode uno.
Episode
First one.
uno. Yes.
Well, should we tell the people the name of our podcast?
Oh, yes. Okay. The name is... Nope, that's not a drum roll. Okay.
You try.
Yeah, I did. I tried. The name is We've Been Like This.
Yay. Welcome to the first installment of We've Been Like This.
With Jill and Lolo. So we're going to be talking about the overall theme of authenticity and what it means to live an authentic life, especially if you live a life where who you are is something you can't hide. And for us, that is like the obvious, right? Is being women of color, Black women with disabilities who use actual mobility devices. And we have to navigate the world as what authenticity means to us.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to like dive into that more today, but it was very important when we discussed like what we wanted to share within the podcast is we wanted to be sure that this wasn't a podcast that felt what people might expect it to be about.
Right.
So we wanted to be sure that we always had a segment where we shared the things that we loved and made us happy, just to set the tone, right, for each episode, because that's important for us to share that things make us happy when people don't expect us to be happy because of our particular circumstances and the fact that we're both women with disabilities. So, Jill, do you want to kick it off with your happy moment?
We skipped what happened this week.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so what happened this week?
Update us on your life. What Lauren did this week.
What did I do this week that I'm willing to share right now?
Right.
Okay.
It's spicy then.
Okay, girl. Period. No. You sorry. Tell me
All
what
right.
happened.
It's funny because I also have no idea what I did this week. Because I genuinely sometimes do so much or do nothing.
Yes, exactly.
You know, like it's okay.
Oh, I know what I did this week. I'm sorry,
girl.
Sorry. Good joke. I'm so sorry. Sorry.
It's okay. It's like when people ask me, "What did you do this week?" I really sometimes have to like think, and I'm scared because I'm like, how do I forget 7 days? Like 7 days is crazy. It's
Literally.
just 1 week. They didn't ask me what I did last year on this day.
Right.
They asked me what I did 7 days ago. They asked me what I did yesterday. And sometimes I don't remember.
What did we do this morning?
How did I get here? Who am I? Okay. What's my name? I hung out with my friends.
Love that.
I love that because I feel like, especially in the industry, us both being actors and us both being in a very public atmosphere.
Yes.
And low-key workaholics, you kind of forget to have the little moments of joy with your friends and like catch up with them and not talk about work at all.
Exactly.
You know?
Which is actually ironic that you did that because what I remembered is I did the same thing.
Yeah, you hung out with friends. Yes, I love that. And like I'm so happy to say that and so sad that I have to say that.
Yeah.
As it being a highlight of my week.
Yeah.
You know? Other than that, my dog is now going to these like little puppy like walks with like 7 other big dogs. I have a big pit bull Labrador.
Yes.
She turned 3 in June.
Yes.
And she is a menace. And so far, so good.
Nice.
She barked at 2 dogs. They were Chihuahuas. But you know what?
But
Yeah, Chihuahuas.
don't we always
Yeah,
bark
a
at
little bit,
Chihuahuas?
a little
Yeah.
bit.
Like just a touch. No Chihuahua
little
shaming,
divas.
but yeah.
Yeah.
So I remembered after you sharing yours is I did hang out with friends this week. So one of my best friends, her birthday is actually next week, but you know, we like to do a little early razzle dazzle. So we went on Rodeo to the Tiffany store on Rodeo, right? Because we was just like, bitch, we finna be fancy.
I mean,
Okay.
it's giving fancy.
Period. So we had us a little champagne.
Okay.
At the little Tiffany's. For those who don't know, they give you free champagne. I didn't know. This is my first time really going
Just
to
like
Tiffany's.
entering, they give you free champagne.
Yeah. Well, we had an appointment, which
Okay.
I didn't even know you could do.
Okay, fair.
Literally learning the life of luxury. We made an appointment, pulled up, and then they was like, would you like champagne? And we're like, yes. So it was just like moving around Tiffany's with a little glass of champagne. You know what I'm saying? Mind you, I'm over there getting like low-key little buzz because I didn't have nothing on my stomach.
Oh, no.
Right.
See, okay, we learned lessons.
Yes, we do.
Okay, good.
We do. You would think at 38 that I would remember to eat before drinking.
It's fine.
But
It happens to the best of us.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
So had a little buzz there at Tiffany's. And then we went up the street to Honest Bar, I think is what it was
Okay.
called. Girl, that crispy chicken sandwich.
Honest, the same company as Jessica Alba's Honest Company.
Oh, I don't know.
Do you know?
I have no
I
idea.
don't know.
I don't know.
Jessica Alba has an Honest Company.
Oh.
But maybe she has an
Oh, wait, no,
Bar.
Honest. No, wait, Honest. You're talking about her beauty skincare
Yeah.
self-care? No,
Yeah.
I don't think it's.
No?
No, I
Okay.
don't think it's the same thing.
It reminded me.
I mean, it could be, but who
Shout
knows?
out to Jessica.
Shout out to Jessica. We love Jessica. But yeah, girl, that crispy chicken sandwich was tea.
Okay.
It was so bomb. And then we got this coconut shrimp sushi. Fire.
So people should go.
Yes, everybody should
Shout
go.
out to the Honest Bar.
Yes, the Honest
Honest
Bar. Off of Rodeo. And also, like, you know what I just noticed? We're over here.
What?
You know what I think we need to share?
What?
Is how living in LA is its own experience. Because we're like, oh, is that Jessica Alba's bar?
I know.
Is that
I
like
hate myself for even saying that. I hate. No, and if you're hearing this and you know who I am, you know you're like Jill.
And then I'm like,
As I
oh, we were
said
at
that-
Rodeo. We went to Tiffany's.
As I said that,
and
I
had
called
champagne.
myself. I was like, well, I can't go back now.
We had champagne
know.
because
Who
we're
am
in
I?
LA. Just so you know, where's the wine? Okay, or maybe I'll talk to my single. Just so you know, that was a special experience for our birthday. Okay. We do not want this podcast to be misinterpreted as if we're like these bougie disabled bitches just living a really like extra lavish life, which one day we will.
Sure, but there's no money right now.
But right now,
The bank is struggling.
you see the angles. You see our camera setup, bitch.
Okay, it's giving DIY. Okay.
It is. But it just sounded very like pretentious. So I just didn't want people
No,
to think.
You locked it.
You know what I
clocked
mean?
it. Yeah, no.
But yeah, so that's what we did this week.
I mean, I can tell you an embarrassing story about me and Tiffany's. I was, and you know what? If you are this person who I'm going to describe, no shade on you, but it's embarrassing for me now to talk about it. I was obsessed with the Jonas Brothers.
We love
Right?
the Jonas Brothers.
And
Even
they
though I don't know a
had-
song, but they're
It's
so
fine.
cute.
It's all
Yeah.
good.
Love that.
Don't play me their first album because I'm
Listen.
going to embarrass myself again and know all the words to it.
Listen, you throw on B2K's first album right now.
Copy. See, but B2K was way cooler. No shade. They're still together, you know? Like
Yeah,
the Jonas
and so
Brothers are
B2K
still
came
together.
back.
They did.
B2K are
No
back.
ways. Okay,
Yes.
Okay.
Waits
We
for
love
life.
it.
Okay, sorry.
But they had this whole thing where they were like virgins and like they, you know, blah, blah, blah. They had like chastity rings or whatever. Chastity rings? Is that what it's called?
Oh, yeah.
Promise rings or whatever.
Yeah.
So I went to Tiffany's and bought myself a promise ring to me. And it had little crosses. It was the most Jesus ass ring in the universe. And I will never forget that ever.
That
I literally went to Tiffany's myself and by myself.
a promise ring.
A promise ring.
To keep your V card.
Correct.
Which ended up
Failing. No. I don't want to say I'm a hoe, but
listen, if you haven't had your phase in life where you really took it there,
right.
Did you live?
Did I live?
Did you live? Like literally like, okay, no, not like, okay. That sounded crazy. What I'm saying is, it's like, if you didn't have something of a hoe phase in your life,
sure.
Can you say you really lived life yet?
I don't know, because some people have. I mean, asexuals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they don't have their hoe phase technically.
No.
Right.
Not in the way that like society defines.
What would an asexual hoe phase look like?
I don't know. Let's bring one in.
We might have to do
on
that
the
as an
call we
episode.
have. Just kidding.
Right.
Don't.
We might have to figure that out.
No, yeah, no, I don't know, but I'd love to know.
Yeah,
Like,
because
I'm
asexuals aren't
ignorant in
virgins.
the asexuality zone. I'm
Yeah.
not in.
I mean, at a
knowledgeable.
certain point, like there is a like, okay, if I could be honest, sometimes I wonder if I'm turning into an asexual person because the fear of pregnancy is so deep in my nervous system that I'm like, I'd rather just like not do sex at all.
Okay, that's for another episode. Stay tuned, you guys.
Okay, this is gonna go all over the place if we don't catch ourselves. Sorry.
Okay.
Well, I think this leads us into the
Our main
part.
topic.
Yes, our main topic of authenticity and the importance of being yourself and how do you, I think a lot of people, disability or not, right, struggle with getting to the point of figuring out like who they really are, what makes them authentic, like what is their authentic experience, what is their voice, what is their, you know, because I think to what we were just talking about is so many people have voices that are based on what they think they should be saying or what they are supposed to be saying, whether it's on the right side of history or not.
Sure.
Like there's just such a groupthink mentality right now. So it's like, how do you truly identify what it means to be authentic and how you like show up in the world? Like, how do you get to that point?
Well,
what was your journey?
My journey was a long one. And I think that's important, is to know that it's not like a next day thing.
Yeah.
Like figuring out who you are, that's one thing like every human in this world has gone through.
Yes.
You know, something that we can all connect with, that we all had a moment where we had to kind of, or people are going through that right now, you know? You had to like sit with yourself and say, is this who I'm presenting? Is this really me?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or am I doing like a sheep mentality just to fit in? Because that's another thing, you know? I think that's when you start figuring out who you are, is when you figure out like, am I being truthful to myself?
Yeah.
And for me, it took a long time because I grew up in a household where I didn't know the impact of having a physical disability was, because it was never othered in my family when I was little. You know, I was doing chores, like I have two younger sisters, and I was doing chores, I guess what I thought was chores. I don't even know if it was chores, girl. I was a troublemaker when I was little, so I don't know. But like, I think it was like entering middle school, which I know everyone can relate that middle school was the most awkward phase of our lives. But when I started seeing the like very plain difference of me and them. I grew up in my classrooms. I was the only one who had a disability in my classrooms.
Yeah.
And up until middle school, I used to walk in a walker in my school.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a little me in a walker.
Period.
Going to my classes, you know? And it wasn't until, I think like my middle school was from 6th grade to 8th grade. And 6th grade, I had the walker. And then I started getting like, I would say bullying. It was very low key compared. But I remember this girl, never forget her. I hope you're doing well, girl. But she would call me robot because I used to wear leg braces outside of my clothes.
Oh.
And then that was like triggering. And I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But then I slowly came to realize that she was just making fun of the fact that I had a walker that was very metally. It was like those really old ones that were like bulky, metally ones. And then my braces, for shout out to those who wear braces or who have wore braces.
Oh, wait, you mean braces on your teeth or your legs?
Your legs.
Yes. You know what? I love that we have to tell the difference.
Yeah, I know. No, I've never had teeth braces.
Me neither.
Period.
No, but I love that we had to make that distinction. Like, are you talking about braces on your teeth or your legs?
No,
yeah.
leg braces. And I had mines were called like cable something braces. And they were like all the way to my hip. All the way down. Oh, they were like the long ones.
The long joints.
Yeah. And I stopped going to school with my walker. This was around the same time I got my first electric wheelchair too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And because I didn't want her to keep calling me that. Oh. And then I wore these like really, really huge jeans to hide my braces because I was so embarrassed. You know, so I started to mold myself into someone that I didn't feel comfortable with, but I just wanted it to stop.
Yeah.
You know,
you were protecting yourself.
I was trying to protect myself, but I feel like that's when the beginning of trying to find myself began, because then I started hating who I was presenting. And then it's like I was trying to figure myself out, and then it was like society doesn't want me, and I clearly remembered the day where I like sat with myself and I wrote down all the things that I love about myself and all the things that I love about just doing, and I think that was like kind of my Bible of like trying to find out who I was and not caring what other people were saying.
Yeah,
you know. Also, like growing up in a Dominican household, being a Latina, being a woman. Well, I guess I was a child, so I wasn't a woman yet. But,
right.
You know, and just having something that I thought people hated about me, I just started to deflect it, you know. You think something bad about me, then that's your fault. That's not mine.
Period.
You know, and I didn't take it.
Yeah.
So I think that was when I started to find myself and, you know, but I think in so many ways, we will always go through little phases of trying to figure ourselves out and try to live as authentically as possible. But I want to say that as of today, right now, I am so much who I am.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always been a journey.
I love that. I love that.
When was your aha moment?
You know what's so interesting about that is like we have very similar backgrounds in that way, right? So like I didn't acquire my disability till I was 14.
Right.
So when I acquired mine at 14, you know, there wasn't really like adjustments were made to cater to, you know, my needs at that time.
Like physical ones.
Yeah, my physical needs at that time. But like the attitude of people towards me didn't change.
Okay.
So I had a very similar experience like that. And interesting enough, even pre-disability, you know, I got teased for my hair and like, you know, the homies would be like, oh, you're Oprah Bob or something like that. Like, and all the different, if you saw the pictures.
Oh, we need a picture.
I got pictures. Oh, yes.
On the video.
We will throw up the pictures.
Yeah.
But like for me, I come from a family that is ridiculous and silly and comedic. So when people were making fun of me, I didn't see it as being made fun of. Roasting was like my nature. Like that is how I grew up. Is like my sister would roast me, I'd roast her, I'd roast my stepdaddy, my mama.
My sister still roasts me today.
Girl, like to this day. But like that was so common. So when it happened at school, I'm thinking,
right,
we just roasting each other.
Right.
Like it did not matter.
Yeah.
The thing I think where it started to come into play of being more conscious of like who I am and how I presented myself is when I started to like boys.
Why is it gotta be? Why?
It's always the boys, and they're so ignorant. Anyways, but there are some men who aren't ignorant.
They're not all the same.
They're not all the same. They are not a monolith, you know, respectfully. That's when it mattered because, like, even when I first started having my disability, I used AFO braces. So the ones from the knee down.
Sure.
But they could go underneath my jeans. But I would always wear shorts too, like when it was hot. Like I didn't give a fuck. Like it did not matter to me. But it was like it wasn't until I got older, like almost even going into college, of being like, okay, who do I want to be now? Like my mom, I'm not living with my mom. I'm on my own. you know, I'm making friends in college. Like to this day, all of my friends that I have now are from college. I have like a small group of friends from high school, but like a majority of my friends are the ones from college. And so, you know, and they accepted me with full arms. So it really wasn't like, I didn't really have to discover anything, ironically, until I started my YouTube channel. So when I started my YouTube channel.
So men and social media.
Men and social media. Those were the two moments, because it was like once I started liking boys, that's when I started caring about what my hair looks like, how I presented myself. I always thought going the homegirl route was going to get him to like me. To come to find out,
it's like the movie Hitch. You become friends.
Yes.
And you know what? Actually,
but it didn't work out for me.
It didn't.
No.
Oh.
It never. Okay. Being the homegirl,
you were like automatically the friend zone.
Always friend zone.
Okay.
I think that was like the second episode on my YouTube channel.
Friend
zone. It was called Forever Friend Zoned, and I cried because it was such a frustrating experience, because I'm like, my grandparents, they've both passed away now, but they were married for like 60 years. And so when I would ask them like, what kept your marriage together, they would always be like, you got to be friends first. Yeah. So I thought, if you're friends first.
Sure. And honestly,
it's a lot more nuanced than that.
It's so much nuance.
But the reason I brought that up is because once I started to like boys, I felt myself trying to acclimate who I was to be compared to who the girls were on campus that the boys did like.
More approachable.
Yeah. So I tried to like find my way, and that didn't work out for me. Then in college, I was so hyped to just be out of my mom's house that I just lost all control, low key. I wasn't too bad. I mean, that was
fun of the day.
You know, that's what I'm figure out. But the point is so then I took all that energy, grew up a little bit, graduated, and then when I started my YouTube channel, I recognized, like, when I was talking in my early videos, I was like, that don't sound like me. That's not okay.
Like you would look back at them.
I would look back at them and I'm like, hi, welcome to Sitting Pretty. Sure. This is your girl Lolo. And I'm like, bitch, you don't even talk like that. Like, who are you?
You like acclimated to what you thought
was the professional way of having
whatever the hell that means.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
And so then the more and more I did my content, the more and more authentic I would show up. And I felt like, okay, well, if I can be myself in front of the world like this, then I'm just going to be myself at all times. Yeah. But what I've learned the older that I've gotten, though, now that because I'm 38, what are you, 30?
We're the same.
Yeah, we're the same age. Okay, that's what I thought. Now that we're 38, I feel like
let's give a little silence for the gasp of people realizing that.
Yes. Because they be gagging when they find out our ages. And that's the real tea. But now that we're both 38, I don't know if this is what you're going through or not, but I'm starting to go through this phase of like, almost like rebranding who I am.
Okay.
Like staying authentic to like my morals, my beliefs, my understandings of like just like general basic life. But I am recognizing that there is a version of me that wants to like elevate and like mature to a certain degree.
Okay.
And so now I feel like I'm about to enter this phase of relearning like, well, who's this new version that you want to be, and like, what does she look like? You know, where she's not like, the version that I feel like I'm entering is the version of me that's not stuck in survival mode.
Okay.
Because of, well, we've talked about it. I'm not going to talk about it now, but because of the decisions I'm about to make soon.
Sure.
That are all around like positioning my life in a way where I'm not stuck in survival and anxiety of like, well, is this going to happen? Are we going to make this happen? Da, da, da. I'm not doing that no more. So now it's like, okay, well then who is authentic Lauren when she's not in survival mode? And what does that look like?
And so more of an organizational lifestyle.
I would say, because I love organization. First,
I know. You're a Virgo, right?
No. I'm not the Virgo. I'm a Cancer.
You're
I'm a Cancer. I'm a Cancer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm so emotional. I'll cry at the drop of a hat. But no, I'm very organized with my space.
Okay.
I'm pretty organized in my life too. I think it's just more so like, because I'm so unafraid to just like jump off the ledge and like do
Sure, that's
something
story of my
or
life.
say something
Yes.
or be a part of an experience.
Or-
I am relearning. I feel I can feel myself entering a phase in my life of who is Lauren when she's not stuck in survival mode.
Yeah.
And what does like that freedom, what does authentic, like, because I feel like when you are raised a particular way, you are around certain people, your family dynamics, friend dynamics, school, neighborhood, job, all the things, they all shape who you are at whatever phase you are in your life. And that could be your authentic you during that time. But then there becomes a moment when you hit a certain level of like truth or you want to like break out. And it kind of comes naturally. Like there typically isn't like, I don't know, for me, I should say, it has come natural to feel like, okay, I want to break out of this version of who I am and learn to be another version and be authentic to whatever version that is. Because it's like, can you say you were being your authentic self when you've had parameters set around you your whole life?
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like, whether that's financial, whatever. So I don't know. I just feel like that's where I'm at right now. I'm breaking out of everything that I've known for the past 20 years, which is the marker for me because I moved to LA in 2006.
Okay.
So almost 20 years. And
I graduated high school.
love that. I
So,
graduated in
06.
05. Yes. I graduated in 05. Shout out to class of 05. But I moved to LA in 06. And I've been in LA from 06 to now.
Where were you before LA?
Before LA, I was in Stockton. That's my hometown.
California.
Yes. Shout out to Stockton, California,
So we're
209.
East Coast, West Coast. And
Yes.
I just did like this and I realized it's the other way around.
It's the other way around.
Yes.
East Coast, West Coast.
Right.
Yes. So now that I've hit like 20 years in LA, built a career, did all of this, now I'm like, okay, now what?
Who is Lauren?
Who
Who is Lolo?
Who is Lolo? Who is Lauren? Who is Lauren when she's not struggling all the goddamn time?
Yeah. and it's perfectly fine to not know too.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be like a lot more empathy and give space for people who are genuinely have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
And are trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I think the best thing that I can give advice or I can say that there is no time for that. Like you will figure it out like whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's 10 years, 20 years,
Yeah.
that is not a rush to figure it out. And it's also okay. And it's also not okay to pretend like you have.
Yeah.
'Cause you're
That's
hurting-
where it gets problematic.
Yeah, you're hurting yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
But also to your point,
Mhm.
it's problematic when you act like you think you figured it out and you really genuinely are unsure. And I think it's also good for people to know, like, as you're figuring out, it's never really like a destination. Like, I figured out who I am.
Totally.
And now we
And
stop
that's it.
here. And that's it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Like, no, like, as we grow, as we get older, you're going to change.
Yes.
It's just about staying true to where you are in that phase. Like, because I feel like being authentic is saying, I don't know who I am.
And that's
That
perfectly
is
fine.
authenticity.
Yeah, because you genuinely don't know.
Exactly.
How are you going to know when you don't know?
You see what I'm saying?
You're lying to yourself.
You can only know what you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to ask you, just because I always try to talk to my inner childhood
Yes.
about, especially with authenticity,
Yes.
especially when I'm unsure about what I'm doing or who I am at that point, like that second, whether it's like a big life decision, whether it's I'm in a room with people that I don't know and they're going to meet me for the first time. And I'm just like, how should I present myself? Because it's going to be the first impression.
Mm-hmm.
I always look back at my younger self and like, I do my best to keep her in front of mine all the time. And I want to ask you, like, if you were able to talk to young Lolo, who's trying to figure herself out in middle school,
Oh my gosh.
who has her braces on,
Yes.
not teeth, legs.
Right, leg braces. Okay,
Like-
this is still a very much so disability podcast.
Right. Like after the fact that you're like, oh my God, I'm looking at myself. You know,
Mhm.
after the freak out moment of like, you see where my brain goes?
Yeah.
That's the first thing I think of. It's
Huh.
like, if I were to see my younger self, I would freak out. Because I'm like, wait, what? Wait, how do we, what time machine, what's going on
What
here?
time machine is this?
Yeah. What would you tell her to assure her that she would be okay? Like it's all going to be okay.
Ooh, that's a wonderful question.
Or not okay. I don't know. Maybe you want to spice things up.
Yeah, I know. Like, bitch, you finna go through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Which is true.
Yes, very much so true. I would probably tell her that you are worthy of whatever you want. Yeah, I've always dealt with like self-worth issues. It's just been like, I think internalized ableism is a big part of
Sure.
it. But yeah, I would probably like tell her that like you are worthy of whatever you want. You are fine. Everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong. And that's actually like a mantra I have to tell myself like to this day.
Yes.
When I get to like panic and stuff, I'd be like, there is nothing wrong.
Yes.
Nothing's happening. Chill out. Like freak out when there's like an earthquake.
Right.
When like it's completely out of your control.
Because we do have those.
We
here
do have those
in
there.
Los Angeles.
And then that's when I have to tell myself, Lord, if you're gonna take me now, just take me, please. Like quite literally. But everything is okay. Nothing is wrong. You'll be all right. That's what I would tell my younger self. Yes.
That's really cute.
Yeah.
I love that.
What about you?
You know, as I was telling you, I was thinking about it as well. And I almost panicked. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to answer this? I think for me, I would probably tell her to live in the small moments more. Because I think when I was younger, I was too hyper aware and stressed out about fitting in. I was stressed out that like, since I was very visually othered or other, I was hyper focused on fitting in so much that I didn't enjoy as much as I wish I did the little moments. And I'm such that person now. Like
I love that.
when I like when I get stressed or when I get in a situation where something might be triggering me or whatever, I also sit with that as well. Where when I was younger, I was so hyper aware of fitting in so much that I forgot who I was. There were so many little moments that I wish I was, and it always had to do with like a crush I had, or it always had to do with like
Always the boys.
you know, being in the cool girl group or whatever, with the popular girls or whatever. And if I really think about it, I was the friend that everyone knew, but never a part of any group. Like that was my school experience always.
Oh, interesting.
I would even say, well, in college, I think I had closer friends, but in elementary school, middle school, and high school, I was always friends with everyone. But I didn't have my group of friends, you know? But that's like later on. But if we're specifically talking about like as children, if I can like give her advice, is to like stop worrying about fitting in. Because now as an adult, I rather not fit in.
Right. Okay.
Like it makes my life easier
So much
to
easier.
not fit in because I like the things that I like and I want to enjoy the things that I like. And I like the little moments of my life, you know, and I really hold on to it so tight. So I think if I had the opportunity to tell her, I would say stop worrying about fitting in because you are unique already and there's no one like you and no one will be like you. And that's something that we need to, right. And that's something that we should celebrate more.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. Yes. Come on, little Jillian.
You know, she out there.
She out there, young Jillian. Period.
So every episode, we're going to be relating this to a movie or television.
Yes.
Or a TV show.
Yes. A TV show or an episode of a TV show.
Correct.
Or a film.
Yes. This week, we chose to watch the iconic classic, The Truman Show.
The Truman Show. Yes.
I think this was my pick. Was it?
No, it was your pick.
It was my pick. Yeah.
Yes.
This week was my pick. So you'll pick next week.
Yes.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
I think it's cute. You know?
I think that's super cute.
Yes. I picked The Truman Show. And it's interesting because I think even you were like, well, how does this Truman Show relate to
what
our
we're talking
topic
about.
today?
Yeah.
And mind you, yes, if for those who haven't watched The Truman Show, it's basically about a man who lives practically his whole life up until
30.
30,
He was
right?
like 30.
He was like 30.
Yeah.
in a television show. Everybody was an actor but him.
Yes.
Which, I don't know if you know, this is something that happened in real life, I think in Japan.
No way.
It was a real case. Yeah. It was a real case of a guy who, well, he wasn't born in the show, like the Truman Show, but they tricked him saying that they were going to give him a prize if he finished these tests. And they locked him in a room for several years. And this was broadcasted online. So he had thousands of fans and he had no idea he was being live, like streaming basically.
Oh my gosh.
And he went through like psychosis. They wouldn't feed him. They would tell him like if he wanted food, he would have to finish these missions.
No
Yeah, it was really tragic actually what happened. I believe he's still alive today.
Oh my
but
gosh.
obviously psychologically destroyed.
Yeah.
But the reason why I thought it was a good idea it was because he had to, figure out who he was and if his life was a lie.
Yeah.
And of course it wasn't as I think transformative as that we all go through, but I also think it's such a pivotal moment of you choosing whether to continue this facade that now is not who you are or to get out of it.
Yeah.
And he chose
To
because
get
in
out.
the movie they give him an opportunity
Right.
to stay.
Right.
And he says, fuck no.
I'm going to Fiji, bitch.
Right. And
Yeah.
so I guess the Truman Show is about a guy who lived most of his life in a television show and everybody's an actor. And then he starts seeing the little nuances. And
Yeah.
this was 24-hour live stream.
Yeah. Around the world. It was
Yeah.
24-hour live stream around the world. So think Kai Cenat Mafia-thon, but
Correct.
everyone is an actor
But one person.
except Kai, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But
Exactly.
yeah, so I think the interesting thing about the Truman Show that first of all, shout out to Jim Carrey. We love Jim Carrey. I love Jim Carrey. Is that what we were talking about earlier is how literally our environment, the people around us, our jobs, everything shape who we are in the moment. And then there is like this inception that happens in our world that kind of just starts to like shake things up to make you be like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then you start investigating more and more of your current circumstance and realizing, wait, I actually want more. Because before he realized that he was being filmed or stuck in a loop, he just had this burning desire to go to Fiji.
Correct.
And just that's it. And I think that's also what stood out to me about the film is in real life, sometimes it is something that small, just the desire for something else. And he's like, I want to go to Fiji. Now he had his reasons, but we're not going to share all the tea of the film for those who still haven't seen it, even though it came out in 98. I still had not seen it. So this was my first time watching it, but sometimes it takes that small of a desire to conceptualize. Is that a word? Well, inceptualize today. We can start a Lolo's word bank.
Little urban dictionary.
Right,
for
urban
you.
dictionary. But it is something that is that small that ends up being the boulder that rolls down the hill or the domino effect of then now I'm questioning this part and this part of my life and who are you and why aren't you into it in the same way that I am? Aren't you peeping what's going on? And it just turns into that a domino effect. And that's the journey is uncovering everything and recognizing like who's really on your side, who's part of the problem. And all because the desire was to go to Fiji.
Right.
That's where it started.
And then testing things out. He wasn't afraid to test it out.
Yes.
Or to like change a little. Because there was a part in the movie where instead of going right, he goes left.
Yes.
And he finds out that was a movie set.
Yes.
When he goes into the elevator.
In the elevator.
You know? And I think that's also is like the routine sometimes of trying to fit in so bad.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? What about if I don't?
Yeah.
What about if I don't go to that party?
Yeah.
Knowing that I don't want it, that I don't even like parties, but you go because you feel forced to. You go because you're like, maybe I'll meet the love of my life.
Right.
You go because maybe I'll find the best friend that I've been like yearning for.
Or out here in LA, it's like, you just never know who's going to be there. So
Sure.
it's all about networking.
Right. You know, and I feel like like for me, I'm such, as you know, an anime girly, right?
Yes.
Being an anime girly young,
Yeah.
no, that was no.
That was not the thing.
That was not the thing. You would be a geek. You would be a nerd. You
Yeah.
would be someone undesirable.
Right.
And I think when I tuned into my authentic self,
Yeah.
I found a whole community
Girl.
of equal like-minded
Absolutely.
people.
Absolutely.
And those are the people that I want to be sticking with because they make me feel safe.
Yes.
They make me feel validated. And instead of going to that party that I know I'm going to hate, I mean, I love parties, but
Period.
sometimes I don't.
Sometimes I don't.
Sometimes
I want to be home.
I want to be, I'm a tourist. So I love a snack. I love a pajama. I love being in my bed.
Yes.
Sam and I share that.
Yes. Yes.
We love a comfy, cozy moment.
Yes.
I have moments where I wake up from my dream and I'm like, damn it, not in like a suicidal kind of way,
right,
but
of course,
in my like, I just love being in bed,
Yes.
And I feel like when you do get the opportunity or I think the luxury of finding yourself, you can just finally start living your life.
Yeah.
Not someone else's life.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying is you learn how to say no.
Correct. And I think tying it back to the movie, like all of this, the things that he was going through was dictated for him.
Right.
His wife was dictated.
Yes.
The way he moved in the town was dictated.
Yes.
What he ate was dictated.
Yes.
And until he noticed it and stopped it, was when he started his life.
Right. Because the thing about the Truman Show that is like the slight nuance is like, it wasn't his choice
At all.
to live like that.
No.
It was what he was conditioned to believe life was for him.
Correct.
He thought he was making his own choices when really the choices were he was being
Fed.
manipulated and fed into the choices that he was supposed to make. Even when they try to throw in like another love interest to get him back to wanting to stay focused on being in the town. But by that time by the way, spoilers, it was too late.
Way too late.
It was way too late. And that's the part that when people are like, oh, I want to go on my journey of finding myself. I don't know who I am. You've got to test everything. Instead of what you were saying earlier, instead of going left every time you go to work, make the right and just see what that road takes you to get to your job.
And it might not be the right one.
Right.
You might realize, you know what? No.
Yeah.
I want to go left, and that's okay too.
Right.
That's okay to have a routine.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yes.
But I think the point is to like dare yourself to do it.
Yeah.
Because you just never know who you'll find. You'll never know who you'll meet.
Right.
You'll never know what journey or adventure you can dive into, and then learn more about yourself.
Exactly.
And that's I think the magical moment
Yeah.
of like not fitting in of what other people say. Because society doesn't know either. We're all trying to figure it out. We're all chickens without no head.
Okay.
But some people pretend they got 3.
Okay. That is facts. That is facts. And that's the thing about it is even when you decide to start going in a different direction, and like you said, if you're like, okay, yeah, this direction actually doesn't work for me to get to my job, then now you have a reason and an intention for the way you were going before. When before, sometimes we don't even know why we're doing things the way that we do them. We don't even know why we don't like bananas or whatever it is. You just grew up hearing bananas was trash. I will never forget.
That's a crazy statement. Bananas are trash.
I love bananas.
I love a banana.
I love bananas. In so many different
Shout out
forms.
to bananas.
Shout out to bananas. Chiquita, holla at us. But no, that actually reminds me, I will never forget the very first time I bought a pair of Jordans.
Oh, I think it was gonna be bananas.
No, it's Jordan. Jordan 1s. It was a pair of Jordan 1s.
Okay.
My very first time.
What's the color?
Black and blue.
Oh, black
and blue. Jordan 1 mid.
Yes.
Classics. Legendary. So I will never ever forget. I'm grown by this. This only happened like a few years ago, like early 30s,
fresh.
maybe even mid 30s.
Okay,
like,
she's fresh.
Yeah, fresh. Okay. I was at the mall with my homegirl. She was like, "Oh, let's go into this sneaker store. I want to see like what kind of kicks they got or whatever." I was like, okay. I was like, girl, and I was just like randomly telling like, girl, I would love to get some Jordans. I've never had a pair of Jordans. And she was just like, well, look at the Jordan section and like see what you can get. And I was like, nah, because Jordans are hella expensive, bro. Like, I don't even want to set myself up for failure. She was like, girl, just go look. Why did I go look? First of all, I'm a 7 women's, which makes
Okay.
me a 5.5 in big kids.
Right.
So that's the shoe hack, by the way. 5.5 in big kids. The shoes were only $80.
Wow.
Mind you, I'm working a full-time job at this time.
Right.
I've got money in the bank.
Right.
And I'm like, $80.
Right.
I was so
Give me 10.
right. I was so like flabbergasted because I had been conditioned growing up to believe that Jordans were too expensive. Because in fairness, in my mom's reality,
Sure.
they were
Yeah.
at that time raising kids by herself, like totally get it. But now that I'm an adult and I get to make the choices that I want to make, the conditioning almost kept me from getting something that I actually desired. And then when you take the moment to make the right turn instead of the left and be like, you know what?
Yeah.
Let me go see how much these are.
Yeah.
You find out they only $80. $80.
And then how do you feel afterwards?
I bought so many pair of shoes.
Oh my God.
So
Shout out to
many-
Jordans.
My sneaker collection is now
Fuego.
next level.
I love it.
Next
I love that
level.
for you. And now
Thank
you're
you.
happy with that decision because you dared yourself to turn left
Exactly.
and not right.
Well, right, not left.
Well, you know,
yes.
the opposite.
Right. Exactly. So shout out to the Truman Show.
Yes. Shout out to the Truman Show.
Everyone, please
Great
watch
movie.
it.
Great movie.
film. And that's the part about this section of our podcast that we really wanted to incorporate because we are actors. We wanted to incorporate our love for our jobs. You know what else we love?
What?
Fashion.
I know. So much.
So much. Let's clock this. See, Jillian is the legend
Stop.
when it comes
Tell me more. Go for it. I'm listening.
when it comes to disability representation in fashion.
Oh, thank you.
You, rest in peace, Mama Cax.
Rest in peace. My
Literally-
angel.
Literally, you two, well before I was truly into fashion or knew I even had the ability to model, you two were the ones that I was like, oh my gosh, I could do this too. This is possible.
Yeah.
So I will never forget, it was when you did the Beyonce merch line.
Yes. Wow.
That
Great
was
memory.
Yeah, that was the one that set it off. And then that's when I was like, well, who's this Jillian Mercado
Okay.
girl? Period. So yeah, so fashion is now very important to us, but I think even more monumental
Yeah.
for your career.
Yeah, so we want to put these like fashion beauty moments in our podcast because it's such a you're a beauty girly.
Yeah.
You love
I
love
love a good
you love a little makeup, a
I
little
love
perfume.
a good beat face. I love a good fragrance.
Which shout out to Lolo's apartment because
Yes.
everybody knows
Yes.
the moment that door opens, it smells
Incredible.
like a black queen lives
Yeah,
there.
that's
Let me
right.
tell you, I didn't even fully step into your apartment where I was like, God damn, where is the $1 billion in here?
That is so intentional.
Your apartment smells amazing.
Thank you so
You
much.
know, shout out to that fragrance or
Pura.
scent. Okay,
Yes.
Pura. Shout
The
out to Pura.
Pure brand. It's a plug-in,
Okay.
but you have the little vials or whatever that you
Sure.
buy. They have the best.
What's
scent.
the scent?
Oh God, it's a what's it called?
For anyone who wants to smell like Lolo's apartment.
Yes, well because it's fall.
Okay.
Apple cinnamon.
Oh, she changes it up.
Yes,
It never
Yeah.
smells the same.
never smells the
I
same.
love that.
I'll have to find the picture. I'll make sure Sam puts like a little
Okay.
link or something so you guys can go shop the Pura.
Yeah,
vials.
we're not getting paid for any of this.
None
This
of
is just purely because we love,
love
it.
it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Period.
Yeah, so I feel like this section just fits,
Yes.
you know, because we know a good amount of
Yes.
information, knowledge,
Of all these
encyclopedia about both. But
Yes.
we can talk about really quickly or
Yeah.
wise. My mom was a seamstress, and that's where I like to start because it really was when I started when I was like a child. Yeah, I was almost born in a factory. Almost. Like my mom stopped working and I think a week later she gave birth to me. Literally.
Stop.
I think it was like a week later or a couple days later. I'm not sure.
Stop.
Yeah, because my mom's immigrant from Dominican Republic, and as immigrants do in this country, when they come for a better life for their children and for themselves. Let's not forget that it's not always about the children.
Right.
It's about themselves too. And she she worked in one of the last factories in New York City, and she used to embroider baby clothes. I know. So she, like, the first big check I ever got, I bought her a industrial sewing machine, which still sits in my mom's apartment right now.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
It's so cute.
Oh, that is so cute.
And she still sews today, and I still watch her sew.
Yeah.
But I think that was the inception of me loving fashion, was my mom.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful.
Thank you.
That is so
She's
great.
gorgeous. Shout out to my mom.
Shout out to
Miss
Mom.
Manuel Mercado. Okay.
Period. Come on, mama. Period. I would say my love for like beauty and makeup came later
Okay.
because I definitely grew up in the household where you are not grown.
Okay.
You do not wear makeup yet. If you want to wear makeup, you got to wait till you get out of my house type
Okay.
energy. Like my mom wasn't like super like strict about it. I just knew there was just certain things
Totally.
couldn't do.
We wait.
It wasn't until like, and honestly, I was one of those teenagers that grew up at the age, like I acted the age that I was at
Okay.
whatever age that was.
Okay.
I never wanted to be more grown than I was.
Okay.
I never was like wanted to have sex early or anything of those things. Like my first kiss wasn't until I was 17.
I love that.
Yeah, it was way later.
And there's no age for that.
Exactly. There is no age for
None.
that. Please, young people,
Yeah,
save your
chill.
virginity as long as you possibly can, to be honest.
She said it ain't all that.
It ain't all that until it becomes all that. And that all that don't come until you in your 30s, bitch.
Right.
Period. But so it wasn't until I actually got out of my mom's house and my neighbor at my old dorm, Jana, she was like, she had the bust down weave, she had the makeup, she was like outfits, and she was older, like a couple years older at the time, and I always used to like, damn, she's tea, like I like her, like how does she get cute like that? And so she was the one who taught me how to do makeup.
She was like your first influencer.
Yes.
Okay.
She
cute.
was in real life.
Okay.
In real life. And so she taught me makeup, and then I found Jackie Ina on YouTube, like early Jackie. And I learned, and I just kept watching Jackie's videos. And then I started watching like Shameless Maya do her makeup and Shan do her makeup. And so Shan really did more like sex education, but I think every once in a while she did makeup, or maybe I'm just like confusing them all and just thinking they all did it. But I know for a fact Jackie did it. So the more and more I would just watch YouTubers online on how to do makeup. And that is literally how I learned how to do it. And I am absolutely obsessed still to this day. Do I have any real knowledge? No, it's just what I learned.
Yeah, it's yourself. Your knowledge of self.
Knowledge of self. School of Hard Knocks for the makeup girlies.
Right.
So yeah, that's why
that.
I love it so much.
Is there a moment now or a trend now, which, mind you, I mean, this personally speaking, I don't really go with trends.
Right.
I wear what I feel comfortable in.
Period.
I wear what I look cute in.
Period.
I look at my mirror when I wake up or dress, and I'm like, oh, girl.
Period.
8.
Literally.
And that's what I wear.
And that's how
That's
you
it.
should.
You know,
That's
but is
what
there
authenticity is
anything
about.
that's like your Bible right now that you constantly have use, or what's in your what's like in your bag that you need to have?
Okay.
Like, what's something new that you just discovered or something?
Okay, new
Yeah,
that
new.
I just
Yeah.
discovered is the Danessa Myricks Universal Blurring Balm.
Oh.
Baby, if you've got oily skin, I need you look.
Okay.
Jill, look at my face.
I'm looking at it, girl.
Am I
Flawless.
oily?
No, where?
Exactly.
Oily where?
Exactly. Had this been any other like primer set situation,
Sure.
busting at the pores
Oh.
of oil,
Ooh.
it would be really out of control.
Okay.
But Danessa, shout out to Danessa Myricks, and you talk about authenticity. She is so authentic with like who she is, how she's developed her brand, her products, Black women, everybody. Like she is tea. That blurring balm
Okay.
clearly
a must have. I mean, it's beautiful.
must have. And we've been in here for hours.
We have.
We've been in here for hours. And it's warm in here. So it's not
Been
like
about 37,000 years now.
Exactly. So I would say that is my new go-to must wear. And then staple any Fenty lip gloss. I don't care what shade it is.
Fenty.
It's going to
Shout out to
Fenty.
Riri.
We love Mama Riri. We love you so much. Can we just do a whole episode about our love for
We
Rihanna?
can.
Okay, thank you.
She won't. She's not going to do the album.
No,
She doesn't need to.
she doesn't need to.
Why? There's no reason to entertain her fans.
Yeah,
No way.
no way.
She doesn't care.
She
don't care about us.
literally does not give a damn. And you know what? Rightfully so.
You know, good for her.
Rightfully so.
With her babies and her mans.
Okay.
You know, and her island if she has one.
She probably does.
She probably does.
She
You know, she
probably
does.
does.
She does.
I'm sure she does. Okay, fashion for you. Who's your
for me,
brand?
Telly, my Telly,
Yes.
which I don't have, which I don't have.
I don't have a Telfar either.
Which I don't.
I don't have a Telfar bag either. Because they're always sold out whenever I'm trying to buy one.
But he came out. I don't know if it's already out. No, it's already out. These like grocery store, New York grocery store bags. They like look like bodega bags, like plastic bags, but as a Telly. It's clutch. It's cute.
Cute.
I want one. There's like a red one, a black one, a white one, a blue one.
Oh,
they're really cute.
cute.
But I mean, Telfar, I love her.
We love her.
Love her for her culture, for the casting.
Absolutely.
Those models, they always eat.
And I love that the price point is reasonable.
It's not crazy.
It's not.
For something that it's beautiful quality. They last really long.
Very long.
I've not heard anything bad as far as quality goes. Or,
Me neither.
Or longevity.
Right.
They're pretty good.
They are.
Shout out to Telfar.
Shout out to Telfar.
They're really doing their things.
Yes.
They're really making New York proud on that one.
Yes, so New York.
Shout out to New York. I know.
Shout out to New York.
We love a New Yorker that's proud of being a New Yorker.
Because y'all are always going to be proud of being a New Yorker.
Because we will always remind you.
I love New York so much. I'm going in January.
Period.
I'm so excited. I'm nervous about the weather, but very excited for
harsh.
all other things surrounding it.
It's going to be harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Bring
I can
bring
think
a coat.
Yes.
Bring those Jordans.
Yeah. I'm bringing snow boots.
Bring those boots. Tim's, honey.
Look, girl, I got some Tims too.
Period.
Because you know the New York boys, we have a whole other conversation about New York one.
Okay, so we are gonna at the closing of each show, we're going to have you beautiful listeners, watchers, individual gorgeous humans send us questions so we can give advice on, because we do that for each other.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I think it's really important. Community is really important. I think when you find your community, whatever that looks like, however that looks like, it's important to be authentically yourself. So I know our viewers are in that same journey. And so we're opening it up where every topic we have somebody write us in. And you can also submit your stories, compliments, money, just kidding.
Yeah.
to us, and we will give you, our best of ability advice, like your best friend.
Yes, literally.
And today's question is, or I guess, I would say question. They want to know, how do you deal with a person who's not being genuine?
Who you can tell is not being genuine. Yes. Okay. How do you deal with someone like that? I feel like there's many layers to it. First, I would say really be sure that you know for a fact that they're not being genuine. First, check yourself, because
check yourself.
Period. Especially within close relationships, I feel like we become used to who people are. Mm-hmm. And then when they start to change, then we try and call them out for not being genuine. But what if they're entering their journey of discovering a new version of who they are? Who are we to judge to say that they're not being genuine, right? However, this is when intuition comes into play. When you feel something in your gut is like, why are they all of a sudden saying hater shit towards me? Why is it every time I bring up something cool that happened, they want to say something hater right after it? I've had a situation like that before where I came in and I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy this is happening. Da, 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 da. And then it was met with, Well, didn't you go through that before? Okay, I'll break it down. So basically, it's like always pay attention for who's rooting for you and who's giving you constructive criticism, and then who's giving just full blown hater energy. So like, if you come in and you're happy about something or you're sharing something really cool, and it's not met with, "Oh my God, that's so great! Like, love that for you. Tell me more." Or if it's met with, "Oh my God, that's so great." Now, I know sometimes you kind of jump the gun on certain things. Are you sure you thought about all possibilities? That's rooting for you with constructive criticism versus someone who's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they'll just straight up be like, no, why are you so excited about that? That person's not even cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
they just say some hater shit. And then that's when you're like, you have to be careful, because if they're saying they're your friend, that's them not being genuine
Right.
in what it means to be a friend, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you a personal story, I think, that popped into my mind. Because there's also, I see it in like, there's also the situation where maybe it's time for you not to be friends anymore. And that story ended and that's it. There's nothing more to it, you know? And I have a hard time breaking it off with friends because I feel like those are the most heartbreaking relationship when it ends, even more than romantic ones, because they know you. They know you, you know, like inside and out.
Yeah, they know
the
secrets.
good times, the bad times, all of it,
Yeah.
you know? And I think for me, I'm a very empathic person. So it is like my biggest heartbreaks are when I have to break it off with a friend. And one that I can think of right now happened where I was friends with this person for extremely long time. And this person, I saw them grow up before my eyes. It came to the point where they were changing because they thought that the change that they needed to make was going to make them cooler and they were going to fit in more. And it was a moment where I was like, but you're already cool in my eyes. Like, that's why I love you. Like, that's why we've been friends for this long, is because I genuinely, like, you're the coolest person I know. Like, why do you, who dictates who's cool, you know?
Right.
But, you know, the access to things became easier because they changed. The nority came like 5 times fold because they were sticking with people who had more power, more fame, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not really kind of that person. I don't care if you're a janitor and I don't care if you're Beyonce. As long as you respect me as a person, that's all I really care about. I'm not really ever starstruck, ever. I think the only time I was when I went Obama and then I forgot my name.
Yeah, well, listen.
I forgot who I was. He asked me and I was like, I don't know.
That part.
And I genuinely said that out loud. And he was like, and I was like, you don't understand. I genuinely don't know what's my name. But I don't, you know, as long as there's respect, that's what I asked for. But then it came with not respecting me and putting them on a pedestal, not me, and not inviting me to things, you know, and not including me in things. Yeah. And that's when I had to, you know, like you said, check in with myself and say, like, am I projecting? Am I jealous?
Yeah.
You know, and it could have been that too.
Yeah.
At the same time, I knew in my hearts of heart that they were not the person that I know that they are. And they just did it because of their longing of fitting in so bad. Yeah. You know, and I genuinely wish them well today. And I think a lot of my close friends know who I'm talking about, but it affected me so much.
Wow. Yeah. And
I was talking about it to my another friend and they were like, you know, Jillian, sometimes people are in your lives and sometimes they're not. That's okay. And you can think about the great moments you guys had together and like live with that. Yeah. You know? Yeah. But they didn't serve you anymore. Yeah. And you just have to let them go. Yeah. You know? And as soon as I did that, it was oddly like a weight came off of my shoulder because I took the responsibility of trying to get them back, of like wishing they would be back to who they are. And I feel like friends change. Yeah. That just happens. You know, that's just life. And, you know, whether you're ready for it or not, it happens to the best of us, it happens to the worst of us. And, you know, you have to decide right there and there if it's worth the fight. Yeah. And if it is, are they fighting back? Are they fighting with you?
That part.
and not against you.
That part.
You know, because I give the example of being on a boat, which is hilarious because I gave this example to my mom. But if you're on a boat, like a canoe, not a canoe, no, a boat. Let's go with a boat.
Okay.
You need 2 paddles.
Right.
If you're only paddling with one, what happens?
You ain't going nowhere.
You're going in circles.
You are going in circles.
You need
ain't
2
going nowhere.
paddles. You need 2 paddles to move forward. And in a relationship, you need 2 people to move forward. If not, you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I would say, first, as you said, check in with yourself and make sure that, you're not projecting or you're not wishing them bad to make yourself feel comfortable.
Right.
And then just be like, how do I want this person in my life now?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because really, it could also be a reflection of your own change.
Totally.
Maybe you're just maturing out of what was and how things used to be. And you're almost wondering like, okay, is this person not being genuine with me because they're recognizing the change in me and they don't know how to navigate or communicate that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so ultimately it always boils down to communication if you can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously there are so many people that having a conversation with them is for the birds. It's not happening.
Speaking to a concrete wall.
Literally that.
What?
Quite literally
Right.
that. So also like just be mindful, but pay attention to your gut. Pay attention to, the little signs. If you're even feeling it, then that's a sign that something is naturally off.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you outgrow people. Sometimes people outgrow you.
Totally. And that's absolutely fine.
And that is absolutely fine. And it's just about now, if this person means this much to you, are you going to keep them around or not?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, that's still your choice.
Correct.
But from experience, it's not the smartest choice. But it is your choice.
I'm not saying don't do it.
But
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't. We've learned and grown from being that.
Yeah.
So we hope that helps. So again, always pay attention to our stories, join our broadcast channels on both of our Instagram pages of, when we might drop in the prompt for you guys to submit your questions for our next episode. All that also is going to be available in the description below. We're going to figure it out.
And Lolo, that was our first episode.
That's our first episode.
Okay, we did that.
We did that.
We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And
thank you.
We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.